You're about to enter into a new world of knowledge, curiosities, and high strangeness. This is a podcast of Straight Up Strange Productions.
You're listening to Mysteries and Monsters. I'm your host, Paul Bestall. It's a warm welcome back to the Fortean Times couch potato, Stu Neville, now joined with his partner in crime, Ruth Morris, to discuss some recent Fortean television highlights. From the supernatural to high strangeness, cryptids to UFOlogies, and some ludicrous explanations from the Church of Skepticism, we look at the good and the bad on our TV screens this year. But before we join Stu and Ruth, don't forget you can support Mysteries and Monsters by signing up at patreon.com/Mysteries and Monsters. $4 a month gets you ad-free episodes, guaranteed early releases, bonus content, and more. And you can also click the link in the show notes too. Thank you to each and every one of you with your continued support and contributions. You can find Mysteries and Monsters across most social media platforms. Please subscribe to the Mysteries and Monsters channel on YouTube. You can also visit mysteriesandmonsters.com for news, episodes and other links. Our intro and outro music is performed by the marvellous Weary Pines. Thank you as always to Dean Bestall for his wonderful art, and the show is produced by Mr. Brennan Storr of the Ghost Story Guys. Well then, let's welcome back Stu and Ruth for their first appearance to find out what to watch and what to miss. It's been a while since we sat down on the couch and took in the latest Fortean offerings upon our screens, so what better time than to invite the Fortean Times' resident TV reviewers, Stu Neville, along with his viewing partner in crime, Ruth Morris, to chew the fat over the best and probably worst Fortean shows currently out there. Stu, Ruth, welcome to Mysteries and Monsters.
Evening, Paul.
How are we both?
We're both well. Upon the cat as well. He might join in.
He's not joining in.
He's not joining in. Bruce made executive decision.
He's got a high bar to match Mrs. Paul Sinclair joining us for a cup of tea during the interview and confirming Paul gets up too early to answer all his emails. But we've had many an interesting interloper over the years. So, first of all, Ruth, welcome for the first time. Stu's an old hand at this. How are you finding the pressure of being a TV reviewer and sometimes being forced to watch things you could never wish to want to?
Well, if you told me 2 years ago I'd be doing this, I would definitely not believe you. And I'm probably a bit confused as to why Paul Bestall was telling me I would be TV reviewing. But yeah, anyway. No, I'm loving it, actually. It's been it's a roller coaster ride of some really good programmes and a lot of not so good programmes, and some kind of disappointments and some happier times. But yes, it's going well, I would say, Paul. And I'm discovering things that I never knew I would be interested in as well. So that's it's definitely a new discoveries all the time.
Yeah. So some of the things I've actually recommended quite a lot of the times is things that I've really bigged up, and
Yeah.
the reception hasn't been quite what I was expecting. We will talk about Trustgates later.
I get that,
sure.
Stu.
Anyway.
But no, it's been a pleasure to join Stu on the couch. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, we're not saying television, you know. It
made sense.
It made sense. We might as well.
Well, yes, and obviously one of the columns I always look out for every month in Fortean Times. Regardless, I'm one of those people. I start in sort of halfway through the magazine, read those bits, and then I go back and start reading it. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I'm sure it's one of those things that everybody has different bits they go to first. So I always like to see what are they as angry with what I was recently, or have they found something I have yet to see? And often it's usually the latter, thankfully.
That's good.
Yeah. No, we do. I must admit, we do tend to sort of like see if there's anything being cut. Which is, to be honest, is very, very rare. Tends to be purely for space, or occasionally David Sutton will email me and say, that's libelous, you can't say that. Yeah. But other than that, he doesn't really cut it for any other reason.
So I feel I've taken his place now with that, because now it'd be like, we can't write that, Stu.
No, don't say that. That's nasty. Oh,
it's quite fun trying to predict if Dr. Sutton's going to cut it out or not.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes I just keep in to see what happens.
Exactly. There's certain people he has an equally low, rather dim view of as well, I think. Anyway, I'll keep that in. Yeah, no problem.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say we're at a high point, guys, but obviously this is probably the first era that the BBC seems to have finally embraced that people outside of their channel's normal remit might be interested in weird things other than sticking it on BBC Three at midnight on a Sunday. Uncanny just seems to keep growing and growing now. It seems to be have become some kind of self-aware paranormal monster that seems to be pulling everything in like a great big ghost investigation black hole.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, Uncanny, because we've discussed this quite a lot, because I was invested from Battersea Poltergeist, and actually I was invested from his first radio series. I think was it Haunted? It was on,
yes,
I think Panoply.
Brilliant.
Produced it. So I listened to that and I was like, wow, this is brilliant. And then onto the Battersea Poltergeist, and then obviously Uncanny came along, and we talk about this a lot, because when Uncanny first came out on the radio, I remember listening to those stories probably 2 or 3 times, some of them, and they all stayed in my head. The kind of, saying that, I can't remember the titles now, but kind of room, whatever it was, 103 or something. But, all of those ones, the university one and the farmhouse, and they all stayed in my head. But I do feel like it's starting to it's losing its sparkle a bit for me, I have to say. I think the first TV series really enjoyed, and then the second one, it just feels like it's starting to just lose the twinkle in its eye a little bit.
Yeah, but I think the pressure has obviously been on Danny to repeat it. It's been a big success for them, and I think I do think basically it's purely that there's been, as Ruth said, there's been so much pressure to keep it going, to keep the industry going. Danny's in a difficult position because he knows, he's been in radio and TV for a long time as a writer before he started doing this, and he knows that stuff has a shelf life, and you have to make hay. You have to make it while the sun's shining, so he's really making the hay. But I think they've tried too hard, and they've pushed it a bit too fast this time, I think. Between the previous series, sitting on radio, there was enough of a gap. And also, radio's a bloody sight quicker to produce than TV. TV takes 5 times longer than radio to produce. You've got to get everything right. You've got to you've got to edit it a lot differently and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's been the big problem. I think the TV has probably sucked an awful lot of the life out of the radio one. But then you get the American, the Uncanny USA, which we also have slight issues with, shall we say.
I have yet to see that.
So that's the radio one. That's all right. There was a Radio 4 one, and yes, there's some interesting stories on there, but they're not brilliant. Consider how big America is. They didn't pick some really good story. Well, they did actually. There's a Bigfoot. There's a good Bigfoot.
There is a good Bigfoot one, but the experts that were chosen were.
Well, put it this way, you'll get this if you've got Lyle Blackburn on the believer side, right, and then you've got Deborah Hyde on the skeptic side, talk about Bigfoot, then it's a bit Mike Tyson versus your mum, isn't it, really? It's kind of a bit...
We felt he could have chose his experts slightly better due to their, kind of area of expertise or interest. So, I think Deborah Hyde would be brilliant for folklore and things. Yeah,
if you talk about Victorian ghost in an abbey in sort of Worcestershire, brilliant. Get Deborah Hyde on. That's fantastic. And probably Lyle Blackburn wouldn't really do very well on that one. But if you talk about Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest, then I'm afraid Lyle's probably going to carry the day on that one if you're going to start talking about evidence and credulous. Explaining because they were rock throwing Bigfoots. There was more than one, wasn't there? It was a couple of them.
Three, I think.
Three of them. Three of them. Chucking stones at fishermen, basically. Yes. And Deborah explained that they were probably bears. because bears can, of course, famously throw stones with great accuracy at people. They've been seen doing it so often, haven't they? It's probably the same ones that go around looking for picnic baskets and wear hats, to be honest. That's the one she's thinking of.
Oh, yes. The famous Yogi Bear version.
Yeah, one of the British Lyle says is, well, yeah, bears can stand with their back legs, but they haven't got shoulders. And they can't throw bloody stones. It's like, no, it must be bears. Oh, all right. It's like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, this is sometimes the point. You can sometimes have a skeptic on to argue a point of view, where, yes, it might be all right holding things in the realm of reality, but that only works so far. And when you're basically lying about what a bear can actually do, then you're straight away, you're on a loser, because anybody with half a brain and interest in animal biology knows that that's not true. It's like that video of Pedals, the famous bear that walked about because it had got injured front paws.
Yeah.
And everybody said, oh, well, that explains all Bigfoots then. What? There's every black bear in America's running around because they've got hurt paws. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's the full syllogism.
It will explain some.
Yeah. But it's the full syllogism we've always talked about, isn't it? The fact that one thing gets disproved, as it were. Well, one case gets, okay, that was a bear. Then immediately, well, then therefore they're all... Well, no, it doesn't. It just means that case was a bear. Doesn't mean they're bloody all bears. And as you said, Pedals, right, he's been wandering around since 1890, like, all over the country. He's on tour, you know.
He's interdimensional.
He's interdimensional. Oh, here we go. Yes. It gets complicated. So, yeah.
Yes, of course he is.
We'll come to this, I'm sure. Yes. Anyway, back to Uncanny, where I believe we were back.
Yes.
We've done it again. Here we go. We're on to Bears on Tour. And we were back to
It's like Girls on Film.
Girls on Film. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Quite excited tonight. Right.
I'll tell you why I'm quite excited in a minute, Paul, and it's not just because we're on your podcast.
And it is exciting. But yeah, Uncanny. No, I think they've gone to the well a bit too much, to be honest. I think that's what it is. And the last TV series was really kind of, I don't know. I mean, we really did rip the pee out of it a bit in the column, simply because it just felt so rushed. You know, and it really did feel rushed, to be honest. Did you see it? Did you see the last series?
I did. I was quite struck, primarily because one of the main cases, I know that area like the back of my hand, which is Crofton, where the Shadow Man was.
Yeah.
Because as soon as the pub sign appeared at the beginning, I went, "That's Crofton," because my best mate's dad had his wake in that pub.
Oh wow!
And so I used to be around that area from sort of late 80s till I don't know, when his dad passed away, so late 90s, for a good 10, 15 years. And so when I saw that, I thought, hang on a minute, I know this, and I know the area, I know exactly where this house is, I know the street.
Yeah.
And it's one of them that you think, and none of them had ever heard anything. They both went to the local school, know a lot of people in that particular area. Neither of them seem to know who this kid is. Now, that's fine, I appreciate that, because Crofton's one of those lovely villages in West Yorkshire where it's kind of halfway between Barnsley and Wakefield, and it's on its own, really. There's nothing. It's kind of a lovely urban sprawl surrounded by farmers' fields and a couple of main roads that take you to more sort of notable locations, or certainly busy and more well established parts of it. And so to hear all this allegedly going on, I was quite I have to say, but I also went when they were trying to disprove everything, because as soon as they started going on about a Brocken Spectre, I was like, well, that doesn't explain what's happening here. Yes, that's very good and it's nice, and I think the one thing about this second season I've noticed is that there seems to be a real kind of demand to do an experiment or show something that ends up taking 5 minutes up, where I really think often, yes, fair enough, you've got to look at alternative points of view and sceptical arguments. I completely get that, and often some of them will clarify things. But that just went down a massive rabbit hole, because it's nothing to do with the Brocken Spectre. If he's outside, in the hills, fair enough. But he's on about things happening in his house.
Yeah.
So, that's not shadows reflecting off sunlight on clouds, is it?
No. And I think that's where it kind of is starting to fall down a bit for me, because it does feel like there's always got to be something explained in there, and it almost feels like they're trying to fit their very clever scientific experiment of the week into the episode, and it seems to have started getting a little bit I don't know, just a bit undone around the seams, really.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
not
understand
escape to the country, isn't it?
It is.
Escape to the country. Look at this house, let's go do some blacksmithing.
Let's create a
And
proper
these really awkward looking people doing some blacksmith. And then they go back and look at another bloody house. It's the same with this. I mean, the wind tunnel one, which, I mean, all that demonstrated to us is that Danny's hair is Lego. I mean, basically, it's just up there. There's a bleeding hurricane going on, right? There's things flying around him. They've had to strap him to the floor so he doesn't fly off himself. And his hair moves precisely 1 centimetre. You know, and that's it. You know, what does he use Vaseline on his hair? That's what we want to know. It doesn't bloody move. It's honestly.
Yeah.
That's what's fascinating. And we bang on about Danny, because the last series of Uncanny was all about hair. You know, it's all the participants had weird hair in one way or another. And they're trying to outdo Danny's Barnett. And it was just, it just, for me at least, that became the overriding hair.
I mean, that's a prime example, because obviously the explanation that they were trying to disprove was absolute, pardon my French, it was bollocks, right? And yes, we appreciate how certain, you can create certain wind situations in a house that with a draft or everything, but not to try and explain what had actually happened, because at no point, I mean, that's the kind of weather manipulation lunatics point to.
Yeah.
When they're saying climate change isn't real, but apparently the US government can make it rain when it wants. Well, hang on, which is it?
Yes.
I think we've lost just leaving things that they're unexplained. All these programs, you get to the point at the end where it's either it's been disproved by an experiment, which they normally haven't, or if it hasn't been disproved, then it's got to be the ghost. It's like, no, we don't know, do we? It's just an unexplained phenomena that we can't prove. It could take us years to even get anywhere near understanding what it is. But it has taken years, and we're still nowhere more forward, really, than we were in the 70s. But
yeah,
well, I think that's a perfectly good point, Ruth, because I think when you've got this kind of show, it's either right or wrong. And when it comes to the paranormal, there's so much grey in the middle of all kinds of versions of what kind of phenomena people are talking about, that it can't be either. I mean, and that's the frustrating thing, I think. And, I'm not going to rally against scepticism, because good scepticism goes through these things systematically and looks for things. I mean, some of the explanations put forward, like the cow farts on the farm. I mean, come on, right? I grew up surrounded by farms, right?
We are
farmers, right? And at no point did any of the farmers' children or any of us playing in these fields full of cows and cow pats start seeing ghosts of little boys running around.
That's the thing. But I mean, because it does. This is important, because we talk about context a lot, don't we? You need to understand the baseline of a place before you can just walk in there.
God,
We'll get on to this as well, because there's a few programs been doing this. But I think, because I mean, when I moved here, because obviously Ruth is country born and bred, so knows all the noises and all the sounds and what it does. And the site, I mean, it still amuses you, doesn't it? When I sort of woke up shook because I could hear this buzzing sound, I couldn't work out what it was, and it turned out it was a cow, and I didn't know what the buzz. Through double glazing, it sounds like a buzz and moo, and I didn't know this, and I was quite agitated, wasn't I?
The best one to date has been the peacock.
Peacock, yeah.
Because they do sound like Jurassic. It does sound like a dinosaur, and she's like, "Oh my god,
what the hell was that?"
It's
a peacock.
They are noisy buggers, peacock.
Yeah. I'd just like to clarify that we don't have peacocks in our garden.
No, we don't. No, we're surrounded but I mean, I'm dedicatedly urban, so I can identify all the different types of sirens. So I can tell you a fire engine from those all the national noises. So that's pretty much it. So, where were we going with this?
But I think, and I think that's been a lot on a lot of the programs.
Yeah.
You do hear these noises, and it's like, well, that's just a deer barking or coughing or whatever, and they're all going mad screaming.
Because I didn't know what deer sound like
now as well.
But I never knew what deer sounded. For example, I had no idea what deer sounded like. I know what muntjacs sound like, because you do get urban muntjacs. But I mean, I didn't know what a proper deer sound like. And there's loads around here. And first time I heard it, I was like, Christ, what is that? and that's what a deer actually sounds like, because cows go moo, horses go neigh, pigs go oink. They don't say what deer bloody sound like.
I got freaked out, didn't I?
You did.
I went out for an early morning walk and heard this cough on the other side of the fence. It was pitch black, because when we had our little dog, and heard this cough, and I was like, oh my God, I think there was someone in the field while I was walking the dog. And then happened the next morning, and I was like, well, this is ridiculous. If there's someone there, why on earth aren't they coming to attack me? So me being me, thought I'd go over and see who it was. And it was a horse. Where it's like, it was obviously very cold, and it was just making a noise like a human cough, but it was a horse making this noise.
Yeah.
And that got me, and that's, I've been here for, countryside 40 odd years. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Wait till you hear a hedgehog growl, Stu. You'll brick it, mate.
Yeah, I've heard about this. I've yet to encounter this. Foxes, I've heard lots, because again, urban foxes, but no idea. But I remember you saying the other day about badgers. You were saying on one of the other casts about, like the things with Jeff Meldrum, wasn't it? He was saying about urban badgers. And they're around, but you don't see them very often. You just see the result of them being around. And that's, in a relatively small contained area. But but coming back to what we were saying, no, with cow farts, which is what we were talking about an hour or two ago, if I remember rightly, causing hallucinations. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, it's our favourite. I mean, we've talked a number of times about ridiculous explanations, and some of them are, and the sheer contortions that some of the hard die-in-the-wall skeptics will do just to say, no, this doesn't exist. But as you said on this one of Ruth's sort of bugbears really is debunker is one of the big ones, isn't it? Because debunker has become debased as a term, and actually it's a neutral term. It's become a pejorative term, and it should just be, debunking is just removing the falsehood to leave the truth, and that's what it is. I think stripping away the layers, isn't it? I
think they get very confused on these programmes between skeptics and non-believers, and it's like, a skeptic isn't a non-believer. A skeptic kind of they will disprove everything before saying, well, perhaps there is something there, but there seems to be a real just misunderstanding between skeptic and non-believers. I think you need to get a hardcore non-believer on a programme. That would be like then you could really go for them, but and they wouldn't
get Dawkins on.
And where we've encountered them before. Now it's a case of that's not a picture of Bigfoot. Why? Because Bigfoot doesn't exist, and that is their entire thing. And it's like, well, okay, how do you know it doesn't exist? What if it existed? We know about it. There'd be some evidence, and this is evidence. It's not evidence. Why not? Because if there'd be better evidence. And people like that, a lot of the time, literally a Bigfoot could turn up and wee through their letterbox. They wouldn't have it.
There was one the other.
Who knew bears could do that?
Yeah, bears do that. Our bloody postman doesn't, because we never see him. But I mean, that's, rule him out.
There was an argument put forward the other day. So I've come right off telly here, but there's an argument put forward the other day that I was reading. Someone on one of the Bigfoot things saying, he was saying, if I walk barefoot on a beach as a human, I'm going to be leaving loads of skin cells and DNA behind. Explain that. And it's like, well, you don't really. It kind of gets washed away. And it's like, well, and when people find big footprints, they're normally in mud or really hard ground or snow. And it's like, no, that's not, you can't, that's a terrible argument to put forward.
Yeah. Well, you get used to it, Ruth, to be honest. A lot of the time I just don't bother. I mean, it was like when, I've forgotten the bullshitter's name, when he died and his family claimed, oh, well, we've solved Bigfoot now, because he was responsible for every set of tracks in North America.
Ray Wallace.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
And the media ran with it. Oh, we've solved it.
Yeah.
What? Has Ray got 500 children, has he?
But funnily enough, we were just actually... For one of our upcoming presentations, we talk about Ray Wallace and some of the stories about how they faked the prints are actually quite entertaining.
They are. Yes. In funny enough, we'll be doing this at Stranger, which of course you will be at as well.
Oh, you will be. Well, we don't want to ruin it for you.
We don't want to ruin it for you. But we're talking about the because it was obviously the one that kicked off, wasn't it? It's the Jerry Crew. findings and stuff like that. But there's a lot of details that get overlooked there, because they say, oh yeah, well, Ray Wallace and his brother Shorty Wallace, clue in the name, Shorty Wallace was 5'2". So Shorty Wallace wearing a pair of effectively flip-flops, huge pair of flip-flops, was managing to somehow replicate an 800-pound impression in the soil with a 5-foot stride, which was taller than he was, pretty much. And they reckon they did it. Go on, you tell them how they did it, apparently.
You might know this, Paul, but allegedly, well, how they say they did it was, if you think about water skiing, so he had these big flip-floppy fake feet on his little feet, and he was on the back of a ute, a big space wagon type thing. So he was on the back, and then every so often he would put his foot down to leave a footprint. And so he was like, you know, they were suggesting that he was dangling almost off the back of a pickup truck, putting his foot down every kind of 6 foot to create this stride. And it's like, well, if you think about that, first of all, the flipper's going to flip. You know, you're never going to get it straight down unless it's really heavy, and then that would be pulling you off the back of the pickup truck. And what was it?
So there's no tyre tracks. So if there was going to be, there would be tyre tracks, basically parallel, no tyre tracks. Also,
and weight.
Yeah. And then the other thing, and of course it spreads weight. If you're wearing big that's how snowshoes work.
Yeah.
They spread the load. They're not going to sink in even as much as a normal weighted person would be. And of course, the other thing is flip-flops and wellies stick in mud. They would just right off his foot every single time. So, I mean, that's just, well, to use Alvin, it's bollocks, isn't it? So there we go.
Yeah.
You
know. And you couldn't leave a clear footprint, especially if you're being dragged by something. There would be dragged.
It would just be a mess, you know.
It's just such a great mental image.
And people, that solved it then, I'm convinced.
People, because they'd rather believe that. I mean, so the other thing is like the damage that was done to the logging equipment, you know, because they noticed that before the tracks. I mean, literally a 55-gallon drum of diesel, full one, weighs 250 kilos. It's a quarter of a ton.
Yeah.
And that was lifted up and taken down a precipice. It wasn't thrown. It wasn't dented or anything. It was put at the bottom of the precipice. So something carried that. You know,
it's just the damage. Well, it was the damage that got them on high alert, wasn't it? That was the thing. They thought at first they thought they were being somebody was trying to scare them off, because they wanted the contract, and that's when they started finding the footprints. But they'd been having all kinds of problems for a few weeks beforehand, of stuff being smashed up and disappearing and being pushed down the mountain and all kinds of stuff.
It was like those electric culverts. Well, it's steel. It's heavy stuff. You know, it really is. It's bloody weighted. I mean, smashed up. I mean, it's very like the Port Arthur stuff in Alaska, isn't it? That old cannery, you know, and then the huge pressure cooker, which weighs 3/4 of a ton, moved 500 yards. Literally just moved and put down somewhere. It's just, what the hell? You know, you can't get equipment in there, and everybody had gone anyway. You know, it's like, what a god.
And if you were, why would you do that?
Yeah. Exactly.
You'd steal it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't just move it 500 yards and go, oh, this is going to frighten people in 10 years.
It's nonsensical.
It is, totally. Well, we because part of the thing we do talk about footprints and stuff like that and trail and various aspects of it. But we keep coming back, as you said any number of times, it's the John Green thing about fakery. Fakery relies entirely on people finding it. You know, there's no point in faking anything if no one's going to find it. So why on earth would you go to an uninhabited area up in a snowfield in December and leave a long track of trails? Nobody might see it before it melts. What's the point? You know.
And also, you would have to be able to not leave any evidence of you being there whatsoever. And if you can see the tracks, there's probably a reason you'd probably be able to find evidence that somebody had been in the vicinity at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of thing.
Unless they were parachuting on a bungee jump and bouncing through the snowfield. And Ray Wallace's private helicopter took him away.
Yes.
That's what you need.
Piloted by Shorty. Yes, that's the one. Yes, absolutely. But come back to the skeptic one. This is a good point, because, I mean, it's you know, I think skeptic itself, the baseline, we've had a lot of chats about this. You know, it's a bit of a buzz at the moment, you know, in Forteanism, about what the baseline is, because it always used to be the complete middle ground. It was a case of neither believer nor skeptic, nor non-believer, I should say. And it was a kind of soft scepticism. And that's, that's kind of what the orthodoxy has been for a long time. I'm not sure whether the Overton window's shifting or not. Because, you see on the forums especially, you do see waves. You get more sceptical periods and you get more kind of like believery periods. But that tends to reflect what's going on in the media at the time. If there's an awful lot, in the middle of Most Haunted, got a lot more believers on the forums. We're going about 20 years old. And then after, funnily enough, basically post Most Haunted, when it will start falling apart, a bit more scepticism started coming in. So it does say a lot about how people are influenced, which is why I think we find TV so fascinating. You see, we brought it back to TV. Do you see how we did that?
Well done.
We brought back to TV. That's why TV... I think,
professional, Stu.
So, so the media, those particular media are so influential, and because they are very passive. You've got to make the effort to read a book. You've got to make the effort to go to the cinema. TV, you just press a button, sit back, and there it is.
It's frustrating sometimes because there's not many shows I really watch these days. I have to say I've rediscovered a love of The Unbelievable with Dan Aykroyd, because I thought the first season was I've heard everything. It's a bit wishy-washy. But the second season seems to be a lot better, and they seem to be pulling out weirder stories. Whereas the first one, you'd kind of, if you had any interest in weirdness, you'd have probably known most of the stuff they covered. But they have some lovely weird stuff on there. But sometimes they fall into that trap of, I don't want to hear about Roanoke again. No. I know where, yes, they all buggered off. Nobody knows where they've gone. That's fine. We don't need a programme every year from every show telling us about that. We know it's really interesting. We just need to find that tribe and do some DNA testing, because if anything happened, it's probably that.
Yeah.
And they came and saved them. And you get that. But I was watching one of those, and they were talking about the Bermuda Triangle. And they started going on about this particular case. I've forgotten the name of the ship now. It's something like the Ellis Anthony or something. And they came out with this big story, and I thought, well, I've never heard of this. And one of them said, yes, it's all in the Lloyd's of London register. So I thought, oh, right, okay. And, you have these contacts. So I checked it. There's absolutely nothing in that log that bears any resemblance to... Because the story is that this ship somehow ended up in the Bermuda Triangle, found an abandoned ship, completely empty, although it looked like people had been on it. So they sent several men onto the ship and said, right, we'll all guide it back, we'll all go back home together and, get the wreckage fees, as what happened with the Mary Celeste. And then 5 days, a storm came in, whatever, they lose sight of the other ship that they've just found. 5 days later, they find it. All the other crew members have now vanished, and so they've lost 2 crews. And I thought, right, how have I never heard about this story at all? And when I checked it, there was absolutely no truth to it at all. None of it. It wasn't even that this ship didn't even sail anywhere near the Bermuda Triangle. It went from Southampton to New York, which, as far as I'm aware, does not take in any part of Florida.
No.
But they try and... Usually they're pretty good at not promoting nonsense. And so that's the one with Lawrence Fishburne hosting.
Yes.
That one... That was quite a surprise, because usually they're pretty good. Or they have a series of arguments.
Yeah.
And they'll go through the explanation. It was this, or perhaps it was this. And this came from nowhere. And I was like, hang on. And you've got people going, oh, yeah, this happened. No, it didn't. It didn't happen. None of it happened. It's not true in the slightest. There's things in Charles Berlitz's book that are more realistic than that story that they covered. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
And so that's always disappointing. But it's like Amelia Earhart. Right, yeah, that's fine. But they've just done another show on that. It's like, Christ.
Yeah. Well,
leave her alone till we find something, please.
So something we both find quite not frustrating, I guess, is the bloody focus on Jack the Ripper. I mean, for God's sake, there's
Jack
not
the
Jack the Ripper. There's not going to be any more bloody evidence. There isn't any more. That's it. The buildings have all been demolished. They're all long gone. None of it's left. What are you going to find suddenly? Every file's been opened, unless there is some massive, massive secret, and it was something to do with the Prince of Wales or something. Yes. Everything's in the public domain now. It's all there. The fact is, they don't know. And the problem is, because they don't know, that means people can spin whatever they want, because everybody involved's long dead. There's no libel risk. There's no nothing like that. They can make as outlandish claims as they want, and it's its own self-generating industry. But it's like Roswell, isn't it, or Rendlesham now. It doesn't matter. You could prove it absolutely 100% what it was. Nobody's going to buy it because it's got its own momentum, hasn't it, completely?
Yes.
You know, and Jack the Ripper will just carry on and on and on. And to be honest, quite prurient. It's quite sort of like, it's. I mean, we've seen sort of quite a few sort of things about it, and some of them are just so graphic. You think, well, this is horrible. It gives no real, because you said, didn't it? It gives
I have to say, as a nurse, you see these pictures that people are putting up of like the bodies, and they're really graphic. Some of the Jack the Ripper pictures, and I just think,
yes,
would they ever really want it? It just feels very disrespectful that there is so much. And I know people always say they're being respectful, but to me it feels quite disrespectful that these photos are just kind of put out everywhere to demonstrate what awful things he did. And it's like, oh gosh.
Yeah, the victims do seem to be largely forgotten, don't they? The victims are secondary to the murderer, and that shouldn't be the case. That should never be the case. But I mean, it's always the way, unfortunately. But it shouldn't be, you know. It's, you know,
no.
It's a bit, you know.
It's an interesting point you raised there, Ruth, because I think whether this is because it happened so long ago that people don't seem to understand the power of seeing a corpse still, especially one that's been mutilated in the ways that some of them were, especially,
and you know, naked female bodies as well. It's quite explicit what you're shown on these photos.
Absolutely, and you look at, was it Mary Ann Kelly was the last one?
Yeah.
I mean, that is just, you know, reading about it. I don't want to see pictures of that. I understand what I'm reading. I don't need to see photographic evidence of that. And I think because it happened 140 years ago, some people seem to think that those images don't have any power anymore, which I completely disagree with. I mean, when you look at it at certain other cases that have happened of similar natures, Zodiac is a prime example. Yeah. There's no pictures of their corpses everywhere. No. So what's the difference? Is it because they were women working in that particular area of London and it's that long ago that people think, it doesn't really matter? Who's going to get upset about it? Whereas the Zodiac, those people still have families. There is a survivor.
I mean,
there's two survivors.
On the Jack the Ripper, some of the programmes we've seen, they have had their great-grandchildren on there. So I think it's only like one great on there. So they do still have relatives out there. It just feels very, it's almost, I don't know, it's a bit like titillation, I suppose, in a way. It just feels, I don't know.
It's like the old days of going round Bedlam for a bit of Friday night entertainment.
Yeah.
It is. It's very, very, it is, isn't it? It's quite
ghoulish.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's an easy way to make a lot of money, as we've seen even as someone who's very interested in the case and finds it fascinating, because it's, you know, it's a mystery that will never be solved, regardless of what. It's always interesting that everybody seems to solve it when they've got a book coming out about it. You know, I remember Patricia Cornwell and Walter Sickert, and all that coming out 20 years ago, and she paid for all that. None of it was true, really. It was all kind of jumping to conclusions and everything. It always makes me laugh because we've got a Sickert in one of the museums here in Sheffield, and it always used to make me smile when I used to view it. I think, did you? He's telling a story in his art. Like, are you new to art?
That's funny, because there was a debate, wasn't there, some time ago, when Sickert was first suggested, and somebody said, would his art then become worthless because he was a murderer, or would it become more valuable because it was painted by Jack the Ripper? Would this become more sort of like, which is an horrible thought. It's just like suddenly, oh blimey, you know, he's Jack the Ripper. That makes it immediately more interesting. It's God, you know, it's a very cynical.
Well, it's like people who pay for serial killers' artwork. John Wayne Gacy is a prime example of that.
Exactly.
You know, and it's pretty crap.
Yeah, I do find it odd. We know someone that's got a very large collection of serial killer memorabilia, and I find it very hard to get my head around that you're kind of funding that thing. I don't know where the money goes to, but it does feel a bit weird.
Yeah.
Well, there is always that aspect, because I always wondered where the money went from Gacy selling his pictures. Where did that go? Did it go to the family? I mean, and listening to him and his incredibly more ludicrous stories, the closer he got to execution was just, you know, deeply offensive. But this is often the thing, and I think even when you look at the Ripper case now, you can see there is a sea change in true crime. The way, whereas 20 years ago, it was all people rubbing their hands about who's your favourite serial killer and who's the worst and all this. And now, I think the real shift has come that the victims have the voice and the killer is secondary. And that's how it should always be. Yeah, but it was always the same, growing up through the Yorkshire Ripper here.
Yes.
It was very similar. It was all about Sutcliffe and nothing to do with any of these women. And probably most of them deserved it in the eyes of certain individuals who were working on that case, sadly, because of how life had dealt their cards and the situations they'd ended up with.
Yeah.
Not the fact that we live in a society that forces people to have to do such things just to get food on the table.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know if you saw a couple of years ago, was it the Trail of the Ripper, of the Ripper,
yes,
a couple of years ago, where it showed it, and it showed how stacked the detectives were against the victims. They really didn't. It was a case of, well, they don't matter. Oh. It's only because the politicians are leaning on us. We want to go. It
didn't matter till somebody who didn't work on the street got attacked, and then all of a sudden it was a problem because somebody in the eyes of West Yorkshire Police as normal got attacked. Then nobody was safe, and prior to that, it was just women who worked in the red light districts, and exactly. Like you say,
it's horrible. But
if women weren't there, doesn't really matter. But then when that student got attacked, that changed the whole dynamic of it.
But sadly, coming back to this, you're right. There's TV series which just go over this stuff again and again and again. And okay, it's safe because it's a lot of people ain't going to fact check it. But when people like ourselves sit there and look at them, and we think, "Oh Christ, not this again." But I suppose there's going to be people who are watching who've never heard of it, and it introduces them to it. That's a good thing. But quite often, you're right. Yes. It's just literally, it's like a third-generation photocopy of every other coverage there's ever been of it. And I've deliberately stopped watching Patterson stuff now simply because, again, that one's static now. That's not going to go anywhere. I'm sorry. It's kind of, I don't know, unless something really, really amazing happens, which it won't, then we just, I don't know what, I've seen everything there is to see about it, I think, and I've sort of I'm still really interested in it, but ever since the LiDAR stuff, I've just kind of like, okay, we know she's 6'3", great. That's as far as it goes, same as I am. That's all right, okay. Lovely. Perhaps she's a juvenile. Yeah, must be. That's it.
Yeah.
Gimli.
We need to be focusing on some of the Freeman footage and putting that through the lens because if any of that's real, that's incredible.
Yeah. Because he's another Harry Price type, isn't he? We keep talking a lot about this, don't we? The sort of the Harry Price thing, because it's a character we see a lot, isn't it? It's somebody who themselves believes. Todd Standing's another one. They probably have had genuine experiences. They really, really deeply believe, but they believe so much that they're willing to help the evidence along so other people will believe it, and I think Freeman fell into that category, I think.
Well, yeah, I had a really good chat with Dr. Meldrum about him because it was quite interesting because I think a lot of people weren't aware just how much he was involved in some of the early stuff along with Dr. Krantz. And he's got that opinion. Definitely, something definitely happened to him. But he went from believer to promoter, essentially. But he says there's a lot of good stuff in there. He says, I know some of those tracks couldn't have been fake because he's got all the dermal ridges and all that. He said Freeman couldn't have done it. But he became quite evangelical about it. Yeah. Like you say, it's my truth and I have to share it. And I'm not really... I may have to manipulate things here and there to make more people convinced, and that perhaps, for me, I think he deserves a bit of a re-evaluation. I think, and especially as he's not here to defend himself these days, and his son Michael has done a damn fine job in trying to do so. It's frustrating that everything seems to be focused on Patterson, but there's other things throughout the years where we've got incredible footage that just doesn't seem to get done, and is often longer. And also better definition. So why are we not doing that?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I'd say we saw some incredible footage on Expedition Bigfoot.
We did.
Was it Series 5?
Series 5.
Series 5, where they were Maria and... I think it was Ron, wasn't it? Ronnie?
Might be Ronnie. Ronnie called, yeah.
No, it was... Oh, no. Who's it?
Pico.
No, LeBlanc.
It's Ronnie LeBlanc.
That's Ronnie.
Sorry, yeah. So it's Maria and Ronnie were camping on the side of the river. It was quite a big ravine. It was a rocky ravine, and some rocks kept coming down the edge of the ravine and going into the water. And they looked up and they could see a big, what looked like, something big shadow up there. And they got closer, didn't they? And then they captured this figure. It was incredible. It was a tall, dark shadow, bipedal, thin, kind of human-like, but it was a shadow going across the rock face and then just vanishing. And that... and they caught it on camera and there was nothing. There were just the two of them. There was no reflections. There was nothing. There was just nothing that could have caused it. It was dead of night, wasn't it? And this... And you see things like that on these programmes and you're like, how is that not become one of the most... valid pieces of evidence for something? It didn't look like Bigfoot, but it was clearly some kind of shadow man. And, whether that was some kind of guardian linked to Bigfoot or whatever, kind of fitted in with the tribal information of that area. Yeah, and it was just fascinating because that had been all the reports had been about this guardian of the area that was a big tall shadow. So, and it was just, you just look at stuff like that. And there's loads of things, wasn't there?
There's lots of stuff like that. And there's some amazing LiDAR footage. So they had somebody doing a LiDAR survey of a particular glade. And he was just going around. He said it felt creepy, but he couldn't see. They had thermals going, all that. There was nothing on the thermal.
There's lots of noise, though, wasn't
there? Lots of noise, but nothing on the thermals, nothing on the infrared, nothing. And they were doing this LiDAR, handheld LiDAR. And then it resolved. And there was, in front of a tree, literally 10 feet in front of him, an 8-foot figure just stood in front of a tree. Well, only showed up on LiDAR. It didn't show up on anything else.
And it was like gorilla shape.
Yeah, it's going to be standard Sasquatch shape. Yeah. It's huge. Shoulders. It's massive. Yeah. It's amazing. It's just kind of, you see that, my God. And they set up a LiDAR perimeter of the campsite. And at one point, something comes out of a tree, 8 foot tall, walks out around the tree and back in again. So it comes into the perimeter, just enough to be gone. And they heard the noises, but nothing on thermals, nothing on the trail cams, but on LiDAR it appears. So there's something, there's a disturbance moving around. Yeah. And that freaks them out, of course.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, your review got me back into it, because I have to say, I watched the first season, I wasn't very impressed. And so I kind of put it to bed, and then I saw your reviews, and I thought, oh, all right, let's give it a go. And I love Bryce Johnson. I think he's a top guy. Oh. He's a great actor. I've got a lot of time for him. I've still yet to forgive him for how scared he made me by appearing in Willow Creek and the last 40 minutes of that film, which is absolutely terrifying.
Oh. You haven't seen Willow Creek yet?
Oh, no, I haven't.
You've seen Existence.
Oh, my God.
We saw it. Oh, God. I showed Exists to Ruth.
Can you just tell Paul what our location was?
You tell Paul, because he will appreciate this.
So we thought, first family holiday all together, I thought, what would be nicer than booking a farm cottage in the middle of Exmoor?
In the middle of the woods.
It kind of was wooded.
There was half-wooded.
Half-wooded, middle of nowhere.
In a storm.
So, yes, we get to this cottage, which was not the romantic idyll I had envisaged it being. It was a cold, damp cottage with a door that banged every time the wind blew at it. And, it was
This'll settle us down.
It was a creepy arse cottage that you had to drive. I had to kind of bring my little Ford Fiesta up this rocky footpath, it felt like, to get there. Yeah. So we cuddled up.
Lightning flashing.
It was full on Lorna Doom, mate. I'm not kidding.
There were actual pigs roaming around outside. Anyway, so we're in there, and Ziggy's son settled in his room, and Stu says, "Oh, what do you fancy watching?" And I was like, "What's this Bigfoot film you keep saying about?" And he said, "Oh yeah, we could watch that." So gets this film on. Oh my good God in heaven! That was the scariest bloody film. I love Bigfoot. I have a real, as you can tell, I have a real theory. In my mind, I believe they are gentle, peace-loving creatures that make a lot of noise to scare people off, because everything I've seen, I know there's stories out there about them attacking people. However, all of the stories that I've heard that sound very valid, to me, just sound like they're trying to scare people off, and they're actually quite peace-loving and quite helpful at times. So then, this bloody film, honestly, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
I was like, you've made me feel badly about Bigfoot.
I really like Exist.
There was obviously no artificial light anywhere either, and a very dark night, and we were trying to sleep, and there was a tree behind the house which kept knocking on the back of the house, and that really...
It was terrifying.
Oh, Jesus God.
Yeah. It's a great example of FAFO exists. It's interesting. I'm not a massive found footage fan.
No.
But I really liked Exist. It's a bit like Wreck. I didn't think I'd like Wreck, but Wreck's very similar. That the film's so good that you kind of forget it's found footage, especially the ends. It
did feel so real, because obviously, well, it's a bit of a spoiler, but not many people get out of that film.
No. No.
On both sides.
They're about to get rescued, and you think, oh, at last, and then something else happens. It's like, oh my God. Building torture never ends.
Anyway, we didn't stay in that cottage. We went to a hotel in Minehead afterwards, which was a lot fun. Literally.
That wasn't just because of Exist.
It wasn't just because of Exist, but literally, it was a week-long holiday. We then spent in a hotel, not in the bloody cottage. Exist played a part.
So the second night when Stu decided to put dog soldiers on, he thought, enough's enough.
God.
That was Ruth's revenge. That was, absolutely. Good Lord. But no, you're right. It's but Expedition Bigfoot. Yes, it is. The first one was slow, but I think the personnel involved is good. I mean, Series 6 has been confirmed. Apparently, it's going to be on Discovery UK from the end of this month. We've been waiting for it for ages, and we have seen it through other means. Cough. Mostly. But there's some rights issue. There's been a rights issue apparently, but it will be on. Whereas the Series 7 is going to appear is premiering in the States next month, so they're already well ahead of it. But apparently they have got. But they always say they've got amazing footage. But they generally do tend to have some pretty damn good footage. I've got to say,
some interesting stuff.
There is some interesting stuff in it. Yeah, absolutely. But it's good. It is a good, and it's balanced. And the personnel. And this is something that we have both noticed, isn't it? The fact that a lot of the series now are getting better personnel. It's not just sort of like the Scooby-Doo stuff and amateurs turning up. They're pros, and they're, it's we're watching Beyond Skinwalker Rising, aren't we? Yeah, we're watching Beyond Skinwalker because you've got Andy Bustamante and you've got Paul Beeban, and I've always liked Paul Beeban because he's he's an honest broker, isn't he? He's been sort of paranormal declassified and stuff. The bloke's an award-winning journalist, and you've got someone who's an actual ex-CIA techie. He knows what he's looking at, So whatever you think of Skinwalker generally, you've got a couple of like reputational people in it.
That's just like catnip for us.
It is.
Skinwalker Ranch.
It is, absolutely. There's something going on there. But it's interesting because there's an awful lot of sceptical explanations about Skinwalker, isn't there? But it's all way. But there are still effects there that people can't really explain, and I think it's the baby with the bathwater, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yes.
Have you seen it, Paul?
Yes, I have. I mean, I've read the book, obviously, which essentially launched it into the Fortean world. Really, I think. I don't know, when did that come out? 23 years ago?
Yeah, it was turn of the century, wasn't it? Turn of the century, my God, yeah.
Yeah. So it's intriguing to me because I've kind of gone through the whole thing with Skinwalker and gone from, wow, this is amazing, to I don't believe any of it, to, well, there's something weird going on, but I don't think that everything's paranormal, to there's clearly something strange happening, however, I've no idea what that is.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other bits I find very hard to believe, and I think it's one of those that there are so many weird things in regards to it, but I think the whole area, it's not just Skinwalker Ranch, that's obviously the focus for Fortean fame, as it were, but I think that whole Uta Basin is just a hot pot of weirdness all across it, because I've seen stories from other ranchers, from obviously the tribal nations from around there. It's well established as being a place of weirdness, but Skinwalker Ranch is the one gets all the headlines, whereas there's clearly a lot of weird stuff happening all over that place.
Yeah, that's what Beyond Skinwalker Ranch is doing. It's going to all different ranches. So they're going all over the place, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a big old distance, isn't it? But I mean, but I mean, it's touching because we talked last time about cattle mutilations, and there's been cattle mutilations on one of them, and it's fascinating stuff. It's kind of there's some of the radio stuff that they're detecting, and it's weird. Yeah, it's just weird effects. Again, like with the expedition, bit stuff showing up on LiDAR. And the LiDAR showing up almost like a mosaic rather than normal topography. It's just like an unexploded sort of jigsaw. And it's very, very odd.
But it is, but then we don't know what's under there, do we?
No, that's the thing. I
think there's some really interesting stuff, but equally I think like the science is showing some really unusual readings. But some of that I think is that just, man-made infrastructure. It's hard to tell. They were trying to dig out stuff, weren't they? And the engines kept failing. But until you get through down into the depths of some of those areas, you're just not going to know what is causing those odd readings.
No, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
The cattle mutilation's fascinating.
Yeah.
I think the other aspect, the geology is a fairly new science. And when you sort of look at it on a sort of global situation, you've got so many weird events that are linked to tremors and earthquakes as well, where you've got lights allegedly being seen, and there's certain areas that are known for having lights, like Essendalen and a few spots in the States. There's clearly something there, and I just think we just don't know enough about how geology affects the environment to that point that it could just be some kind of chemical reaction in the earth that appears as lights in the sky, or it's some kind of, I don't know, luminous gas that's ejected somehow.
Well, Earth lights has come back, hasn't it? I mean, people have been going on Earth lights for years, especially around earthquake areas and areas of sort of like, seismic instability. But no, there's no such thing. Well, there is, because people have been seeing them for thousands of years, quite literally, and they always said it was to do with earthquakes. They said it was just because of the, and then suddenly now it's, look, we've discovered, well, you haven't discovered them. They've been around for bloody years. We've been looking at them for ages. You haven't discovered them. But, I mean, there's, it comes back to, we've been looking at sort of the stuff to do with orbs, and because orbs for a long time had a very, very bad press. I was most daunted, it's video artifacts, it's dust. Not talking about those ones, we're talking about the ones that are like the size of a golf ball that are hanging in midair and moving around and appear to be directed, and the ones that seem to be associated with other phenomena. And there seems to be quite a few of those, and it's kind of, is it all part of one big phenomenon, or is it a very disparate thing just happens to be around it? Or it could be any number of things. And I think this is something we've said any number of times, isn't it? It's like, it could be all of these things and more, for all we know. It could be just lots and lots of different stuff that we just perceive in a very narrow band. Yeah. It's just the way that we detect it. It's...
Absolutely.
Who knows,
Absolutely. I mean, you look at something as well investigated as, say, volcanoes. They are not all the same type of volcano. They're all very different depending where they are. They react differently, they behave differently, they spew lava differently, they explode differently, but they all get put on under the umbrella of being a volcano. Yeah. And so volcanoes, fine. But there's different types, and they all act differently depending on where they are on the planet.
Well, the city of Bath is actually a volcano. That's why it's got hot water. It's just there's a reason that water is very hot. I'm glad about that. If it went, God Almighty, I was right on the edge of the cold. Yeah, I was right on the edge of the cold air, mate. I was just like, thank God for that. I'm away for that now. But come out, Skinwalker. They're attempting to record stuff, and to be fair to them, they don't go out, this must be that. They don't say that. They say these are the readings. Yeah. We don't know what causes this. And I think this is, unfortunately, that kind of backfires in some ways, because you get people criticising, well, why don't you know? Well, because they're presenting they don't know what it is. They're not pretending to know what it is. They're making occasional causal links and saying, well, this might be to do with this. But they're not saying we know what causes it. That's a different thing. And I think this is something, and this is coming back to Fortean Television, which I think we were talking about at some point last year. Back to Fortean TV, I think that this is one of our major things that we enjoy, shall we say, talking about in somewhat like, critical fashion, the pleather of homegrown ones, particularly talk about ghosts, because there's a lot of those still about, and some of them are absolutely pigging horrendous, and we love them for that reason.
Yes,
all the good until it's done. It's just, it's good. Haunted pubs. That's a good one.
Oh
isn't it?
my gosh, Britain's most haunted pub. Yeah. I think what they lack for in budgets, they make up for in sincerity, I would say.
They do, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes you'll find some little gems. I've always thought that the 2 series that Michaela Strachan did, randomly a few years ago, was quite nice, because you'd got the usual occasional ghost guide sort of bigging it all up and telling you those kind of stories where everybody died. Well, how do we know the story then?
Yeah, exactly.
Which get a bit boring after a while, but some of them were really quite fascinating, and some of the locations I hadn't really heard about, and it was nice. Michaela Strachan had got a really good way of speaking with people that allowed people to feel really comfortable with her, and so some of the witnesses seemed to be a bit more open about what had happened, rather than kind of saying, oh well, this happened, and not really going into it. They kind of went into depth a bit more, but that's just one of those random shows. I don't even know who made it and why they did it. And does she really have a big interest in the paranormal? Because I've never seen her talk about it on any other kind of thing in the last 15 years since she did it. So I don't know, but it's just one of those lost gems, I think.
I think that's a good point, the fact she's not invested in it. I think the fact she's a dispassionate kind of observer in a way. She's treating it like a journalist, and that's, again, come back to scale, that's a good way of doing it, because it's somebody who is impartial, who is disparate. They haven't got skin on either side of the game on the plan. They're just looking at the story, and they're trying to look at the facts, and that's a really good way of doing it. It's not seen enough, and I think, because we come back to the most haunted pubs one. It was a collection of ghost hunters who had matching polo shirts and baseball caps with Ghost Hunter written on it, and little badges with their names and Ghost Hunter written on it, because that immediately confers, it's like the Monty Python sketch. They want to be a lion tamer. He's got a top hat with lion tamer written on it, and so he thought that'd be an ideal job. It's the same sort of thing, but they are so sincere. And this bloody pub, weren't they? And it was a tavern that Judge Jeffreys had slept in for one night during the London Assizes.
You kind of missed it. We went through the whole programme. It was like, I think in the conclusion, Judge Jeffreys got a mention.
He did, yeah.
The whole programme, all of a sudden, Judge Jeffreys stayed here.
Yeah.
Therefore,
the noise we heard was Judge Jeffreys on the stairs. He slept there for one bloody night. You know what I mean? And that
could be unbelievable.
Trying to go back and bloody haunt a B&B in Penzance when I stayed there when I was 17 in 1980. Bloody well. You know what I mean? For God's sake.
Yeah.
It's just
why
nuts.
not, Stu?
Yeah, well, it must be Judge Jeffreys, clearly. But this whole thing, it was just, it's these assumptions, and I'll leap to it because everything's proof of it.
Yeah.
And there must be some sort of market for this, clearly. It's...
And it's when you kind of get props that probably weren't even there when this haunted house. Well, when the places were, when Judge Jeffreys stayed there, probably there was a lot of talk about a hanging rope and how that was the demise or something. But they've got a certain, I can't think what the word is. A charm. They've got a charm about them, these programmes, but they can be quite.
It is sincerity, definitely. They mean well. They really do try hard. But then we've been. I know you have had similar kind of opinions of things like King of UFOs. So we've got with Mark Christopher Lee and his output, which is quite questionable, because that's one that we did criticise, and we just went for, because we sat here watching it mainly because so they mentioned Earl Mountbatten. Now round here where we live, his Broadlands estate is 2 miles. You can walk it in half an hour.
Yeah.
So basically we thought, oh, right, okay, it's Batman. Because the whole area's got Mountbatten in the same way that bloody Salzburg's got Mozart. You know, can't move for the bugger. So it's all about Mountbatten. So as soon as we thought, oh, right, the code, I'd heard about the UFO. Of course, I knew about his gardener, had seen a UFO, his bricklayer, whatever it was, had seen a UFO. What a bricklayer was doing at 2 o'clock in the morning is anybody's guess. But there we go. He saw the UFO in the Broadlands estate. So we watched this, and we were just kind of watching this programme thinking, what is this? Because it had these little weird flashes of 1950s sci-fi, and you see the odd sort of night, your favourite stuff, the schlock B-movie robots in the distance, and like flying saucers and ray guns, and this was just flashing up. What the fucking hell's this? And it just
free footage.
Yes,
that's what that is.
Yeah, exactly. But and then they started talking about what's on with Prince Charles. The guy who's talking about he saw Prince Charles, didn't they?
Oh,
flying a UFO.
I just.
Oh,
yeah. What with the liquidizing of the woodlands to dust? We were like, you can't liquidize anything to dust.
No,
Who's in the title?
Grind it. You grind it down to
you
dust.
grind it to dust.
Could,
So this guy, see, that's what it was in Canada. It's in Newfoundland, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The clues in the term liquefying.
That gave us a good bit of material, didn't it?
It was
But what it reminded me of was like they were almost. He was trying to be a little bit Fortean TV because it was almost a bit kind of jumpy, like Fortean TV could be.
Yeah.
But obviously, Fortean TV was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite succeeding, but that was very obscure.
That was and it was really badly done as well. So there was clearly some good anecdotal stuff in it, but it was so badly handled. And this comes back to another problem we've noticed often with TV, particularly, but also with radio, is you can have an amazing story, but if it's badly handled, it's not going to come off as at all convincing. But then again, you can have an absolutely really flimsy bit of crap, but if it's really compellingly told, then it's going to keep coming back. And I think that's the problem we were saying about, you were saying about history's greatest mysteries and stuff like that. It doesn't, because it's history stuff. You're right, it's not going to cost anybody anything to they don't pay rights to anyone. They can just churn it out again and again and again. As you said, get Larry Fishburne in front of it. That's 4 days of studio for him to do all the links, and that's all they got to pay for. The rest of it, and it's kind of, but the best stuff, that we tend to agree, don't we? The best stuff is stuff like Paranormal Witness used to be, and These Woods Are Haunted, which I don't know if you've seen. Yeah. These Woods Are Haunted. Exactly.
It's on my to-do list after your review of it.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It is just so good because it is just people recounting their stories. The dramatic reenactments aren't overdone. They're not over-egged. They stick to what they said they saw, and they're low key. They don't do crashing sound effects. They don't do any of that. They just show it, as it was, sort of thing, and that's brilliant. It's so good. The church in the woods, wasn't it, that one?
Oh, yeah, that was really terrifying.
It was, It was kind of, my God, that's, what the bloody hell's this,
I think being told by security guards that had been at this church and had fled because of the fear they experienced in the night, again, just kind of gave it that extra element of being real, because why would they speak out? Yeah, we're not.
It's that time of year when the night starts drawing in, Yeah. It is. But yeah, it does. It really does. I think that's the way TV, well done TV, should be viewed. And it's because it's a very powerful medium, as we know. It's it's an incredibly strong thing. And you said about the BBC. A while back, and uncanny. But then we've had the Sian thingies, Sian Ellery, Sian Ellery doing her Welsh ones, the gravestone one, and then the UFO, the Broadhaven Triangle thingy, under Broadhaven. Was it Broadhaven? Whichever one it was, yeah. And it's Broadhaven.
With the school and all that.
Yeah, that's it.
I was disappointed that they chose that story again, actually, because I feel that that's been done to death, really.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating because obviously there's a lot of, again, we've got lots of evidence from the children, but it has been done to death. I was very disappointed. I was like, why did they choose that out of everything? But
Yeah, and to be fair, probably for me, the most interesting aspect of what happened in Broadhaven is everything else around the school sighting, which they very rarely dive into.
No,
because
they don't.
there's a ton of stuff that went off at the same time.
Yeah.
Once again, written off when that guy suddenly decided to, as we often get with these cases, you get some random person going, hey, it's me in a funny suit, running around. And the guy claiming to run around farms at 3 a.m, knocking on windows, terrifying people, is clearly a liar, because anybody who knows a farmer knows they're one of the few people in this country that have a shotgun, and they will shoot you if you turn up at their house at 3 a.m. Up the arse, you know. So, but that, as soon as he came out, I got this spacesuit in a charity shop, and that apparently explains everything. Yeah, and I just thought,
was an 8-foot tall silver suit, was it? Oh, okay, then that's fine. You're still
absolutely, and he was flying the UFO that was seen over the sea, and he was interfering with all the radios in the area. Yeah, it was all him.
Yeah, it is. but I think they're missing a trick.
Moving cows into a different farm. Yeah, it was all him.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I forget about the cows moving.
Yeah, well, I think that there's someone's missing a trick. Unless I hope that God, Mark Christopher Lee doesn't do it, but someone's missing a trick about doing British encounter stuff. You know, you could do Alan Godfrey. You could do Broadhaven. You could do Sam. I mean, whatever you think about it, Sandown Sam is an interesting thing. What happened there? You know, it's there's something happened. What the hell it was, who knows? But there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, it doesn't just have to be UFOs. You can do the Wollaston Gnomes, which is still my favourite of the lot. Little gnomes driving around in little cars. It's like they were cutting me.
We were saying the other day that like there's so many things in this country, myths that we. You know, that would be amazing if people could explore them again. Like dragons, we saw the lovely Jackie Tonks give a very interesting talk about a recent dragon sighting at Waverley Abbey.
Yes.
Rick Freeman gave a talk about that at Weird Weekends. Yeah. And we're just thinking about all these different... So I was talking to someone about the owl man. But all of these different things that we have in Britain... And we just seem to be recycling the same old stories. It would be amazing if someone new on the scene could kind of come up and really explore the old legends in modern day.
Yeah. I mean, like UFO sound, like you say, I think they constantly focus on, like, your main fire. You've got Rendlesham, Alan Godfrey's, which is fascinating, Broadhaven, and then they'll just pick one or two from somewhere else, usually maybe Bronny Bridge, and then they might choose one from somewhere else. And like you say, there are so many good cases that get overlooked. I mean, I can't remember it now, but it happened in the early 60s where a group of lads saw something land behind a tree and then this big shuffling thing came out, which was 5 years before Mothman. But essentially what they were describing seemed to be very similar to what people described as Mothman. Yes. And they were absolutely terrified. And they drew it all and everything. Never changed the story in 60 years. That's an incredible case. And you've got 4 witnesses and the people that saw them after the incident. Unless you're really into UFOlogy, you don't know about that case.
No, that's
Same
true.
as Sandown Sam.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so whatever happened with Sandown, something clearly happened. Those kids were they saw something, they encountered something, but what was it? You know, and
it's such an odd story.
I just think that they probably were eating.
Yeah,
I reckon they accidentally ate magic mushrooms. That's my thought on the whole thing. Because as kids,
well, good for them. They had more fun than I ever did.
Yeah.
It's such an obscure story. I can't get my head around.
Well, I think that's what makes it so interesting because it's odd. It doesn't follow the cliches of somebody making something up.
No, it
doesn't. It absolutely doesn't.
It's too weird.
Yeah, we've got. But the problem is the people who have been given money to explore British things. I mean, the Charlie Cooper one, we could see where it was trying to go.
Yeah, we could.
And we tried to write a sympathetic thing because he clearly had his heart in the right place. But it overdid the comedy, and I think that's the problem. Yeah. It tried too hard to be funny. If they'd have racked that back a bit, he's an engaging bloke, and he clearly knows his stuff. But they could have taken that back just a little bit. The Jonathan Ross one, Ross's Haunted Homecoming was, you know, that was, it just turned into the Jonathan Ross show in the dark, didn't it, basically? And it was just, good Lord, really?
Well, there's one particular gentleman that whenever he turns up on a paranormal show, I instantly know.
Yeah, lots of tattoos, hats, by any chance?
No.
Yeah, we've got a special place in Purgatory for him. Yes, absolutely.
Probably one of the worst attempts at faking table tipping I've ever seen on television was performed by him 20 years ago before he disappeared and came back as this hipster.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he wasn't illustrated.
Like a celebrity haunted thing that was done, I don't know, about 20 years ago, which basically featured lots of people just screaming for 4 days. Mm-hmm. And he was the resident psychic, one of those who can translate Latin.
Oh, was that
incredible?
Was that Chillingham? Was it Chillingham Castle or something like that? Wasn't it? Was it Chillingham?
I'm not sure if they were at Chillingham.
One of those.
I can't remember. It's probably about 20 years ago.
It would have been, yeah, it was. It was early 2000s.
But yeah, he literally, they showed it and they clearly realised they'd ballsed up because you could see him basically gripping the table and moving it. It was laughably bad. And everybody's screaming because they're in the dark and we can see him moving the table with his hands.
Oh, I know. It's awful. But yeah, no, of course, yeah.
He's come back as this style guru.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could do some proper good stuff, you know. And in fact, Ross nearly did it, didn't he? Ross's Mystical Britain, or whatever it was, a couple of years ago on Channel 4. And he was going to some proper places. He was doing things like, you know, Mother Shipton's Cave and what have you. But of course, Mother Shipton's Cave now is it's not just like Wookiee Hole Cave. It's exactly the same. And the very fact it's got a bloody card reader on the wall. You know, and it does kind of undo the.
But he was
thing, doesn't it?
His programme was good. The recent one, I can't remember what it's called.
Ross's Haunted Homecoming.
It was good until we got to the investigation bit, and then it just kind of all just disintegrated. Like the history in that, I thought was really interesting.
The history was all right, yeah. It was.
But then it seemed to disintegrate once we got onto, as you said, an illustrated man and the investigations. They're just silly. They are really silly at times.
They are, and there's so many of them. But I mean, the one we've most recently reviewed, which is My Haunted Project.
Yes, Danny's show.
Yeah, Danny. So I mean, it's good. I mean, the thing is, again, it's got the knowledge that it has to keep people engaged. So you know, it has got a couple of little. How can we say contradictions about it, hasn't it? Which we've said in the thing, you know, it's great to say, okay, we've, for example, we've decorated it, you know, sort of like sympathetically with the period sort of thing, which appears to be putting a load of goth bloody black veils all over the place and lots of dust sheets hanging up, which look like ghosts. Fine, and a massive neon cross bolted to the wall, which is probably an original feature. I mean, that's bound to be in it, you know. But there are some genuinely sort of weirdo things happening there.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah. It's exactly what I kept saying to Stu. I kept saying, this is what they need to do. They need to film somewhere for a decent length of time through all weather conditions, all 24/7. And then he's done it. So I think it's a really good project.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think he's done exactly what needs to be done. I have got a lot of time for Danny. I've had some minor dealings with him, but not too much. But it's the perfect example of exactly what you need to do when you're talking about a haunted location.
Yes.
Most of it, it's very dull. Some of it's quite easily explainable. But there are these odd nuggets that pop up that make you want to come back for more.
Yeah.
You do.
And he's done it very, very well. And more shows should be like that. And he doesn't give a shit either about what people may think about him from both sides, because he's got a lot of paranormal people who say he's doing it wrong, and he's got loads of skeptics saying he's just making it all up. And so he's gone through all that ghost hunting, running about in the dark thing, and decided it's nonsense most of the time, and stuck to that. And fair play to him. Good luck to him, because I really enjoyed his stuff, and I enjoy his stuff on YouTube as well. I think it's really good.
Yeah, he's gone in the right direction, and I think that is the direction of travel they really should take. But at the same time, we still want the rubbish, because that's the stuff that we love watching just to take the proverbial out of, you know.
We've still got a few good nuggets out of My Haunted Hotel.
Oh, we did, definitely. There's some, you know, there are some things you just, really, you know, But that's the thing. You have got to keep people coming back, and I think this is come back to the very original point. That's the problem with Uncanny. It's aware that it just needs that engagement, and people, if you leave it too long, people will wander off, and I think they understand that. But I think that actually does a disservice to the audience, because if the stories are that good, they'll come back to it. And the proof of this is something like, not paranormal. The proof of this is something like 24 Hours in Police Custody, which takes anything up to 4 or 5 years to make per case, which is why it's never a constant series. You get 2 or 3 episodes, then nothing at all for 8 months, and then you get a couple more episodes. It's because this case is actually coming to fruition, and they show them properly. But they're given only because the ratings are so huge for them that they are happy to invest the money to keep them going, because they do show proper criminal process and stuff like that. And it's fascinating the way they do it. But I think that's definitely the way to go with the paranormal stuff. You know, if you do the serious stuff, show the science, show that there's stuff happening which needs explanation, but at the same time not trying to just jam any old explanation onto it. You know, just leave it open. Let people decide for themselves. People have got their own minds, and they will decide for themselves. But you know, but at the same time, I think we do live in quite a golden age now, mainly because there's all the different Fortean all going off at the same time. You know, I've always said it used to go very cyclical. 10 years ago, it's 10 years of crypto, 10 years of UFOs, and that's the way it used to be. Nowadays, they're all happening at the same time, and as a result, the programming is out there. Stick on Discovery, there's hundreds of all of them. I mean, there's a lot of rubbish. Prime, there's loads of rubbish.
You might like this. No, I won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Move on. Next one.
But then again...
Where's Josh Gates? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Where's Josh? Yes, go on then. Say about Josh. Go on. I know what you want to say about Josh Gates. Go on.
Say about Josh.
Because I like Josh Gates. I've always, as you know, I really like him. You know,
yes,
the
me too.
He's the same sort of age as me, and he's expanded in the waistline about as fast as I have as well, and that's good to see. You know, so you know he's good. I've always liked him. But when it comes to Expedition X, we have had. It's one of the rare times that we've had slight disagreements about it.
Well, it was short disagreement.
A short disagreement, yeah.
I mean, I think I've managed 3 minutes of 2 episodes so far.
Have you seen it, the new latest stuff, rather than at the beginning?
I think we've dipped in a couple of times to a series. We've seen a couple of the most recent series. I did do the Squatchy ones. I always look for Squatchy stuff. There was a Squatchy one. Was that the most recent series?
Yes, they went to Falk, Arkansas.
That's it, Falk. They did. Yeah,
and Kentucky as well.
Yeah, and I watched all of it. You watched 3 minutes of it, didn't you?
I did, yes. I was... I Josh Gates didn't really appeal to me. He came across... I don't really know Josh Gates. And it just all seemed a little bit... it didn't seem very professional. And there seemed to be a lot of reliance on the low cut of the woman's top. And I was like, if they're already resorting to this is going to be a crappy programme, in my opinion.
This is the thing. I used to really, really like it. And then obviously Jessica Chabon left 2 seasons ago, and now it's not the show it was, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah,
I don't understand this, whether the dynamics changed or something. I mean, even my partner will put up with any old crap sometimes that I watch. Even she said, "Oh, this is really boring now. It's all about ghosts."
Well, there you go. So Julie agrees with Ruth. There you go.
Yeah. So it is interesting for me, and I don't know. There's just something. I don't know. The dynamic of it seems to have really changed. I mean, there was one particular episode where everything seemed to be pagan, and I'm like, with the greatest respect, I don't think you understand what pagan is in Europe, and how it's different wherever. And seeing something like that has what does that even mean? Why is that term loaded? Paganism is what is it? What is and that straight away got my hackles up, because I thought, right, okay, so we're going at it that way then. If it's not Christianity, it has to be evil.
Yeah.
Bollocks. And I just thought, I'm not, no. And so, the Squatchy ones are all right, but it's not the show I used to really, really like. And I don't know if that's because Jess has left or wherever. And, the new lady, Heather, seems a very nice lady. But I don't know. I don't know. The ingredients are there, but the mixture isn't the same anymore. if that makes sense.
But then you come across happy, really happy discoveries, don't you? Because I mean, you came across Flash of Beauty, didn't you?
Yeah, that's a beautiful. Oh yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. That programme moved me to tears with the.
Great, it's great that. I was very surprised with that. I watched that for the first time last year.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was.
Well, you found it, didn't you? Because
yeah.
One
of my discoveries, one of my few discoveries.
Well, you're just honestly, I've had Prime since like 1490, and obviously anything with Big Fun, and that's it. I'd watch it constantly, and then I got you. You just like text me like, Flash of Beauty. We've seen this like literally first time you logged on the Prime pretty much on your own, and you found Flash of Beauty. Like, what the bloody hell's this?
Yeah.
It's just, it's wonderful. Look, it's just, it's amazing.
I was like, we've got to review this.
Yeah, we've got to review that. We did, lo and behold. It's amazing. It's
stunning.
Such a clever piece of film, and that's just wonderful.
Yeah. And it's got some interesting people apart from the witnesses as well. It's not the usual suspects or the people who claim to be best mates with them. It's got some researchers that I actually want to hear from, rather than the usual people who just pull things out of the air and say, "Oh, well, that's what's happening here."
We contacted
How do you know that?
We contacted one of the researchers to ask him about acoustics, and he's provided us with some of the stuff for our talk, which is very exciting. Tobe Johnson from the Owl Movement Laboratory.
So we've actually got some original Tobe Johnson,
some footage,
which you will see. You'll hear. You'll hear in September. Yeah, it's original stuff.
Yeah,
and it's amazing.
Absolutely.
But the work he's put into it is just incredible.
Yeah, David Ellis is another one with the stuff he's caught. Yeah. With the Olympic project. It's incredible.
It's incredible. And all these, the Olympic project doesn't, in a way, I'm glad the Olympic project doesn't get loads of attention. It should be left to get on with it, just let them do their thing. Because, I mean, okay, they need funding, get that. But at the same time, I think the last thing they need is loads of people tramping over hill and dale trying to find them. They need to be just left to do their thing. Yeah. And they're all totally sincere, aren't they? And it's wonderful. And then you see something like a Flash of Beauty, you think, this is why we watch Fortean TV.
Yeah.
This is why.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they are very, good lads. I managed to get them, Shane and David, a few years ago now. And David sent me loads of clips. And when you've got your earphones on listening to that, it's just like, whoa, what is that? I know enough about animals to know what the hell is that.
Yeah.
And especially the ones where you can hear the coyotes or the wolves howling in response, and you're like, ooh. Or they all start, and then this big booming howl comes over the top of it. You're like, oh. But they're really good, and I think you can tell how good they are because of who goes there and what they do there. Because you get all the best from around the States and Canada that visit, and even some from the UK have gone over. Derek Randalls and his team are outstanding. Shane Coulson, obviously, and David Ellis, who's the acoustics. But I think that's a good thing, Stu, like you say, that they don't play that game. They don't need to. And I don't think they want to either.
No, they don't.
Because they're doing it seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the point Maria Mayer made about from the last series of Expedition Bigfoot? She said, we knew where the gorillas were, but we deliberately didn't tell anybody outside the circle that we were in, because otherwise you get the bush hunters for a start. But also, you said what you don't need is well-meaning people tramping up behind you with Nikons, because that will just ruin the whole lot. She said, it's a time thing, and it's all about the time, isn't it, and the habituation. And so, we're hoping one day. The Olympic project, I think we've said this both, we've discussed it before, haven't we? I think the Olympic project is going to be the one that comes out of the forest going, here you go. Here's the proof, and they'll do it very quietly, and they will stand there and they'll give it to Jeff Meldrum, and Jeff Meldrum can go, there we go, all right, yeah, fair enough, got it, and that'll be it. And as soon as that happens, it's a protected species, bang. Brilliant. That's what we want.
And then we can all get drunk and laugh at them, Stuart.
Then what will we watch?
Well, no, because then there'll be lots of programmes with people going, like Deborah going, well, they don't exist. No, they don't exist. They're making it up. They're bears. Can't you see?
Look at the way that bear's carrying its child.
Yeah, absolutely.
In its arms.
Wonderful stuff. Oh, honestly.
Must have hurt its paw.
It's on tour, you know.
Well, before I let you go, guys, so what's your favourite thing you've seen recently then? What's the one thing that you've not got round to reviewing for the Fortean Times, or the one show you think more people need to see?
Well, I think for me it's going to have to be Beyond Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're hoping to review it shortly.
Yeah.
But I think it's just fascinating. I think the fact they've gone to other ranches, have found a wide array of phenomena. They've got some incredible individuals on there, including one man that seemingly can pull orbs out of the sky with his brain activity. Yeah. And, you know, they're monitoring brain activity. So for me, that's kind of got everything. And there's one lady they visit where lights keep going out in her house while they're speaking. So there's lots of actual captured phenomena on film, but taking place in different places. And it's all very different, separate phenomena. So Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, for me, has got something for everyone. The kind of the Bigfoot lovers, the UFO lovers, the poltergeist lovers, and the kind of
but the fact that it is done on sensational, I think that's the thing. They're cataloguing this stuff. They're going, look, here's data. Look, here you go. This is data. You know, they're not saying, oh, this must be that. They're not saying any of that. They're saying, this is data. This is anomalous data. We can't explain it. Yeah. What we're doing is collecting it and hoping to find some sort of see where the data leads us, and that's what they're doing. You know,
as you should do.
You know, exactly, and they keep doing it, and I think that's I think that's certainly something people should watch.
The science is mind blowing.
The science is mind blowing, and if they haven't seen it, Expedition Bigfoot, because we love it. You know, it's great. You know, whatever people it's all. Yeah, well, of course, you know, whatever. I don't care. It's entertaining. If it wasn't entertaining, you wouldn't watch it anyway. You know, it's got to have some of that in it. But Expedition Bigfoot, I hope, will capture some really good footage. Most series it does, you know. And they've got, you know, people go, oh, well, it's all fake. But Maria Mayer is, she is a professor at the University of Florida. She's a primatologist. She's won awards for it, and she's one of Jane Goodall's proteges. She's not going to bugger up her own reputation doing this. And it's, you know, she's serious. They're serious people. I think anything with serious people doing stuff they know about is always worth watching. And that's it, basically.
Absolutely. And we need to keep Bryce Johnson busy so he doesn't get killed in another horror film.
Absolutely right. Because yes, it's a safe Bryce Johnson thing.
Not only have I seen him killed in Willow Creek, but obviously he plays the uncle in Terrifier 3 and meets a very awful end in that. Oh, dear. So obviously he does a lot of other acting jobs, but two of the main films I've seen him in that I really like, he's come to a sticky end in both of them. So I hope.
Like, we need to get Sean Bean presenting all of the British ones to save him from getting killed anymore, because he dies in everything.
I'm still traumatised.
You're still traumatised by Game of Thrones, but everything else he dies.
I never watched beyond Series 1 of Game of Thrones because I was too traumatised by how the Series 1 ended. I was like, I can't watch any more now. It's dead to me.
Yes. Can't treat a living legend from Sheffield like that.
No, of course not. No.
It's disgraceful.
Absolutely not.
Disgraceful. At least he doesn't die when Saturday comes, Ruth, but that might not be your cup of tea, seeing as it's about him playing a footballer for Sheffield United.
Oh, dear. Well, someone's got to do
it. So, listen, thank you both for your time, your conversation and your good humour. Where can everybody read your column, and anything else you would like to put forward, in obviously including your upcoming debut performance as a duo?
Oh, all right.
Or what we like to now call our nationwide tour.
Our nationwide tour, yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, with the resident couch potatoes on for the Fortean Times. So we both have a monthly column, our joint monthly column, but we do, you know, there will be stuff coming up which we are contributing jointly and severally, other bits for it. But yeah, we're still in the early stages. The Struth is out there, which is our Facebook page,
yes,
which we keep on promising to do stuff with, and then stuff happens.
Yes,
it stops us from doing it.
The unforeseen
The unforeseen keeps happening, and it's like, sit down and do it. Oh my God, we got a power cut again, or something like that. But so there's that. But also, yes, as Ruth said, our forthcoming. Well, it's basically our world tour of England, which is which is starting, the Ghost Club, of which you have yet to come down to the Ghost Club meetings, Matey. You are a member, after all.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you should come on down. So, we're at the Ghost Club in 2 weeks' time. And then Strange Days with your good self in September in Newbury. And then November on
Lapis. Are you doing Lapis?
We're doing Lapis. Yes, we're doing Lapis.
We're doing that. As
soon as you said November, I thought that's got to be Lapis.
Yeah, we're doing Lapis, but separately. Ruth's doing one thing.
Don't know yet.
We don't know. Possibly.
We are talking.
Exclusive.
We're not sure what we're talking about yet, but we are talking separately.
We're talking separately. We're each doing a talk. So that's Lapis. I'm doing my hoary old Fortean TV thingy. I'm doing for the London Fortean Society in October, and then December. I think we're taking time off, aren't we?
We are
from our exhausting
writing your next album.
a month tour, which is. But yeah, we're
some big gigs, mate. Yeah, brilliant, fabulous. Well, as everything, I'll put links to everything in the show notes so people can find and follow you and hopefully see you on your nationwide tour.
Absolutely.
And I just want to thank you both for your time, your conversation, and your wonderful company. Take care and thanks for joining me, guys.
Thanks, mate. Be good to see you.
Bye.
Ta-ra.